Hey, what's up, YeouschSports? Welcome to the very first episode of the Weekend Rundown. I am YNOTtheTIGER, and I am joined with my fellow co-host, LordDsplae.
What's up, guys?
All right, so what do we got going on first?
You know what? I think first topic at hand should be the quarterback situation for a few teams in the NFL right now. I think it's going to make a huge difference on the postseason.
Definitely, and I think you're talking about the Texans.
Yeah, poor guys, man. Can you believe it? They lose one, and then they lose the next.
The old, was it the, he was a, Matt Leinart was a first-round pick, right?
He was, from USC, I think, right?
Yeah, USC was a Trojan first-round pick, and he gets his, left collarbone fractured in the second quarter, I think it was.
Yeah, terrible, man, especially for the fact that, you know, when they lost Schaub, I think that everybody was pretty sad about that in the first place, and I think a lot of people thought that the Texans season was over with. And then Leinart comes out and actually, you know, shows that he's got some talent behind his arm and his play, and now look what happens, man. It's another spoiler for that team, and now they're relying on their rookie to see if he can continue to even put them into the postseason.
Yeah, one T.J. Yates is now the starting quarterback for the Texans, who right now have an 8-3 record. So they are leading their division, and they've lost two quarterbacks.
Yeah, 8-3, and then who's right behind them? They got the Tennessee Titans at 6-5. They're right behind them, which, you know, if the rookie quarterback doesn't pull this off, man, I mean, they have a chance of going right into second place.
Well, the only thing I could see that the Texans can pull out is they did pick up Jake Delhomme, who is a veteran quarterback, formerly with Carolina. I don't know if he might be able to come in and put some work in if their rookie falls short, but I just have the gut feeling that the Texans are done for the season.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think they still have a chance of becoming a wild card, but even at that, dude, you know, that rookie quarterback, what is it, Delhomme, whatnot, he's not going to, you know, it usually takes like 4 weeks. I mean, look at how long it took Carson Palmer. You know, when you put a new quarterback into a new situation, it kind of takes them some time. And honestly, at the end of the season, when it's basically crunch time, I don't think he has enough time to really learn the team and get comfortable with it enough to, you know, to basically keep things going for him.
Yeah, I agree. Now, what do you think about the Bears? They got a
Bears
quarterback situation too now.
Yeah, they do, but I honestly think that they got lucky with what they have. I think that guy actually, what's his name? I can't even think of his name right now. But honestly,
off the top of my head, no.
I think he's pretty talented. You know, I mean, he played well against my team, the Raiders. He played well in the game prior to that. I think he actually has some potential. I think he has enough potential to take the wild card position in that division? That's kind of a tricky question. I think that I'm going to favor the Lions a little more, but I mean, at least they have something to look forward to compared to just, you know, nothing but failure.
Well, I'm still upset by the fact that my team, the Chargers, we got Cutler. Next week, you guys get this other quarterback, and Cutler goes down with an injury, with a right-hand thumb injury, broken thumb or something.
And we get the good end of the stick.
You guys get the good end of the stick, of course. It's just like, why does that always have to happen? But speaking about quarterback situations, I mean, your Raiders had a quarterback situation. How is Carson Palmer fitting into your organization now?
You know what? Honestly, I think the past 2 games has shown that he is becoming a lot more comfortable with the team. And he's working well with the receivers. Unfortunately, the one that he was connecting the best with went out on an injury, Denarius Moore. He didn't play last week. But he's still capable of connecting with Houshmandzadeh and some of the other receivers. He's doing really well, man. I honestly think that at least the Raiders have him to look forward to as their franchise quarterback for the next couple seasons.
And so Campbell's out the door?
Oh, yeah. He's definitely gone, dude. With how much money they spent and what they spent and risked on Carson Palmer, and with his performance now, you know, I think it's fortunate for Bruce Campbell because he has the opportunity to go to a decent team since he showed that he's a decent quarterback, but unfortunately he will not be in the silver and black.
That's a tough job. That is a tough job up there. So, okay, so anyways, that's pretty much a rundown of what's going on with these quarterback situations. What's our next topic?
Next topic is what were we talking about? The lockout.
Yeah, lockout. That's right.
I think basically, what do you think it did to affect this season?
You know, at first, my impression of the lockout was that we were all going to have a slow start. Every single team was going to come out with a slow start, regardless if they did, preseason workouts. The quarterbacks got players together, did stuff like that. There wasn't that flow, and the preseason looked sloppy, and the first few games looked sloppy. Now, as I'm looking back here, we're on towards the end of the season now. I honestly think that some of these teams probably have missed a huge, like my Chargers have missed big time without a preseason, without the workups, without the mini camps, without all that stuff. It seems to be affecting our team more than we know. And, I just wish now, looking back, of course, everyone wishes that they would have gotten things squared away sooner. But I'm starting to see that, some teams seem to be suffering more than others. I think that probably has to do with preparation. We were talking before we started the commentary. The Patriots, well-oiled machine, and they don't seem like they've lost much. Of course, on the flip side, you got a team like the Colts who have lost everything.
Yeah, and that's another thing. I agree with you on that, but another thing that I think that it's affected as well is you got to think. I don't think that they took the opportunity when the lockout was going on conditioning themselves. And if you've noticed, I think that that's reflected on how many injuries there have been this NFL season to multiple teams. If they had that time to practice, condition, get their bodies ready for what was going to go on in the regular season, I honestly think that the injuries wouldn't have occurred on most of these players that have this season. I mean, dude, you got the quarterbacks that have gone out. McFadden for the Raiders is out. The injuries that they have. I mean, every single game that you watch, dude, somebody's actually getting pulled out of the game, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, it has a lot of, it's just like they say, this stretch before you run. Well, honestly, you got to work your body out and get it ready for such a physical game that, for 16 weeks straight, with a bye or whatever, 17 weeks. And I don't think that they, utilize the time for it. So it affected them in that way too.
Oh yeah, some of those big boys are going down. I know my Chargers, we've lost a bunch of linemen, and I think for the bigger players, those linemen, they're probably not utilizing that free time as best as they probably could have.
Yep, and so it definitely affected the season, man. That lockout did. Of course, it didn't affect the season as in what teams are pulling away right now, but I think that a lot of the beginning of the season, man, there could have been some wins on some teams that they didn't have right now, on their record.
Or maybe it seemed like we were talking earlier, teams like the Lions. Maybe there was some wins that came earlier in the season, and especially the Buffalo Bills. They got wins earlier in the season, and they're not getting those wins now that teams might be more prepared. I don't know. But do you think this is going to have a rollover effect into next season?
No. I think that now that everything's, taken care of and the players got whatever they wanted and so forth and so forth, I think that actually this is going to put the scare into some of them. I think there's going to be more preparation next year. I think that since there's not going to be any stress on any of the teams for what's going on in the NFL, I think that they'll be able to concentrate on, hey, you know what, this is what we did wrong last year, let's do it right this year. So I think next year, possibly because of the fact we could have a more competitive season.
That is a good point. And then also you've got teams who are going to be making some drastic changes. Maybe San Diego. I know Indianapolis is going to be making a huge change because Peyton Manning is a big question mark.
Oh, yeah, dude. And I think, weren't they talking about they were wanting him to become like some type of coach, offensive coach, quarterback coach for the Colts?
I've heard, three different things. One, he's done. Two, they want him as a quarterback coach. Three, they want him as a third down quarterback. Because I guess I haven't looked in a long time, but I guess he's got stellar third down numbers. So those are the three things I've heard. Honestly, with a player of Peyton Manning's caliber, I would not do any of those routes. I would want to play. I mean, unless he physically cannot play in the NFL anymore, which would be the worst thing. I can't think of a worse thing for an athlete than to have to be forced out of a game that you love to play, especially when you're pretty much the best at your position.
Oh, yeah, dude. It's basically him and Tom Brady are like the top two quarterbacks in the NFL, man. And, I mean, look at what it did. Look at the damage that it did, man. They're 0-11 right now. And honestly, if you pay attention to the games or at least look at the recap, they're not trying to lose yet. They're not one of those teams. They're not one of those teams that have actually gotten to the point to where they're like, okay, let's just go for the first round draft pick. They look like they try and win, man. And it's sad. The fact that Painter, or wherever the hell their quarterback is, I think it's Painter, he can't get it done, man. That team does not have a leader. And if you don't have a leader, you're screwed.
Oh, that is the truth. That's a big case in point right there. How one player, and I know it's a team game, but with a impact position like a quarterback, you've got to have a good guy behind center, or else you've got the Indianapolis Colts of 2011.
Exactly. Terrible, dude. Poor guy.
Terrible. All right, so now here comes the fun part. This one, we had a little secret ballot going on here. We wrote down our playoff predictions, and so I think I'll let you lead off the AFC.
Okay, so for the AFC East, of course, I have to go with the Patriots. They're honestly going to take that. Even at 8-3 right now, the only people behind them are the Jets, and the Patriots they're non-stoppable even when they're not perfect. Like you said, they're a well-oiled machine, dude. Tom Brady, they're going to take the East. In the North, I'm actually going with the Ravens on this one. Now, they're tied with the Steelers right now for first place, and the Steelers are definitely contenders in my book. But I honestly think that the defense of the Ravens and the fact that Ray Lewis is back this week, defense has been proven to win games. And if the offense can score, which their offense can, they're not the best offense, but they can put points on the board. And the Ravens are the ones that keep the other team from scoring. And defense wins games, in my opinion, so I think the Ravens will take it. The Steelers will be a wild card contender. They'll be one of the wild card teams. In the South, I honestly think that the Titans are going to take the division. They're going to continue to win, and the Texans will continue to lose now that they're in their situation. But I think that will, because of there's only so many games left in the season, that'll put the Texans in the wild card spot. The second wild card spot for the AFC, in my opinion. And then for the AFC West, my favorite division of them all, I'm going with the Raiders. Now, this is one where some people are going to argue, okay, well, there's the Broncos right behind them. The Raiders 7-4, the Broncos 6-5. And the reason I am going to take the Raiders is because their players that are out right now, that are injured, are becoming healthier every day. And they will be in those games these last weeks of the NFL season. They'll be coming back and back. The Denver Broncos have nobody to lean on, but their pretty boy, basically their imaginary good quarterback, Tebow. He's not a good quarterback in my book. He's basically the white Michael Vick, and he relies on running too much. Kyle Orton was actually, in my opinion, a better quarterback. Yeah. He's not going to be able to take them past the teams that they still have to play this season. The Raiders actually still have a pretty tough last schedule, with especially the Green Bay Packers in there. But I think they can honestly still pull off the division, and there will not be a wild card spot for the AFC West. I
agree. That's not going to happen.
So that's my rundown right there for the playoff.
I agree with you with everything except for the Ravens and Steelers. I've got the Steelers taking the North, and then the Ravens taking the wild card with the Jets. And I don't know. I just see the Flacco situation as being a big X factor right now. Plus, they play San Diego, and I'm hoping to God San Diego can at least pull some sort of respectability out of this season and beat a good team for once. But yeah, that's the only difference I have. I've got the Steelers taking their division, the Ravens in the wild card.
Which is going to be a tough one, man. I think that's one that it was almost unpredictable for me. I couldn't really. I took the Ravens just because of certain things, but it was very hard to choose.
I don't want to say they're interchangeable, but they pretty much are. They're both really good teams, long-standing history of being good teams, and postseason teams. So you can't really miss with either one of those, and they're probably both of them are going to be in the playoffs. So it's not really. It kind of once you get to the playoffs, it's sort of a moot point whether you took the division or you won the wild card. You're in the playoffs.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's see here for the NFC. This one I think it was harder to call, and you and I both agreed upon that when we were doing this. I've got the Giants taking the East. I got a feeling that Tony Romo is just going to choke. He's going to choke, and I just don't see the Cowboys getting there. Packers. I mean, who can say otherwise, right? I mean, come on, it's the Packers. The Saints out there in the South, they're sort of the quiet team right now. Nobody really is paying attention to the Saints, and of course the Niners. They don't really have anyone else to compete with, so they're getting in by default. I don't think they're going to go much further than the first or second round, the first game that they play. And then the wild card, here's the thing that I've had a hard time with. The wild card, I was looking at the teams that are playing. You got the Bears, the Lions, the Falcons, and of course the Giants and Cowboys are sort of all in contention depending on how the season shakes out. I'm going with the Lions and the Falcons just because the Bears have lost Cutler. I don't know when he's coming back or if he's coming back. And that was the biggest factor for me. And I canceled out the Cowboys immediately because Tony Romo is just, I don't know, he just has that long-standing history of just not putting it together.
Being the choke artist of the postseason.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, you got guys like Matt Stafford and then, was it Matt Ryan? Those two guys are young quarterbacks, hungry for wins, hungry for playoff victories, and I just think those guys are going to step up. I don't know how far they're going to get to the playoffs, but those are my NFC predictions.
Nice. And you know what? I actually, it's pretty close. I mean, the same case here. I was only one team off from your predictions, and that is in the NFC East. I'm choosing the Dallas Cowboys, and the only reason I'm choosing the Dallas Cowboys over the New York Giants is because the Giants have a little bit harder of a last, whatever it is, six games, something like that, left in the season. Mm-hmm. The Dallas Cowboys, the crazy thing is the Cowboys and the Giants actually still play each other twice. They haven't played each other yet, and they're in the same division. So they still have 2 games against each other, and I think that's going to be the overall outcome of what really goes down. And right now Dallas has actually beat more teams in their division than the Giants have. So
that's a good point.
So that's going to take place in who actually, if they tie with the same record, whoever has more division wins, they're the first seed.
So, dare I be so bold to think that the Giants Cowboys games are going to be the games of the week coming up?
Oh, definitely. I think that that's a huge rivalry, man. So honestly, I think both games, regardless of the team's calibers, because I don't see anything special in Manning, or like we were talking about before the commentary. I don't see anything special in Manning or Romo. I mean, they're just, in my opinion, mediocre quarterbacks. And Manning, I think he gets more glory because of the one season that he had where he was the Super Bowl MVP, and they took it from the Pats. But he's got the Manning name. He was already kind of looked towards being a superstar when he got drafted by the Chargers, and then he cried about it and went to.
That's right.
He did. He was a little whiny baby. So, but I don't think they're high caliber quarterbacks. So, but it's definitely going to come down to those games, man. I think they're going to be great games. Honestly, they're physical teams, regardless. The defense, they're both physical defenses, and I think it's going to be fun games to watch for sure.
Oh, definitely. With this season winding down, every one of these games become that much more important for some teams.
Critical.
For other teams, not so much.
Exactly. Except for, like we were talking about the Bengals, they're going to be the guys that want to spoil it, because the Bengals, surprisingly, are right below. If it wasn't for the Ravens and the Steelers being in the same division as them, man, they would be contenders. So they could also be the team that spoils it for whoever takes that division and becomes the wild card.
That's true. That's true.
They play the Ravens the last game of the season, if I'm not mistaken, or close to it.
I think they played the Steelers and the Ravens both play the Bengals more than once, I think.
Yeah, well, they both play them twice.
Yeah.
But and I don't know if I think. Let me see. I'm going to
and
go
the
to
Browns.
Yeah, the Browns. They just.
But I mean, when you're coming to spoilers, I mean.
Yeah, you never know. It's like we've said before, any given Sunday.
I was about to say, I hate to use that cliche, but any given Sunday.
Yeah, we found that out with Detroit and San Francisco, and
exactly
a few games this season. Even games that where the Minnesota Vikings didn't actually beat Green Bay, but everybody was wondering what the hell was going on because they got so close to beating them. So yeah, any given Sunday, man, you never know.
Scary. So, anyways, guys, that is going to wrap up this first episode of the Weekend Rundown. I am your host, Tony YNOTtheTIGER, alongside my co-host, LordDsplae. Thanks for watching, guys.
You guys take care, man.
Take it easy. We'll see you next week.
Yeousch.